Today on Dogmatic DIY, I'm going to turn this into this. So let's get started. So first thing you want to do is, since we're making it approximately 24 inches by 24 inches square, is you want to print it out big. So you can see, so I printed it out bigger. It's on actually 6 pieces of paper here. So there's an easy way that you can do this when you make it as a PDF. So what you can do is, there's in the print section, there is a little thing, I believe it's called panel, and that way you can increase the size and it'll show you how many pages it fits on, right? So I just take that each piece of paper is 8.5 inches by 11 inches. So 8, 16, 24 this way, and 11, 11 and a half, and 11 and a half is 23 this way. So I figured 6 pieces would go well. Next thing you want to do is get your carbon paper and trace it on your carbon paper. Trace the carbon, let me just go back. Take your carbon paper, put it down on the wood, and then place this on and trace it onto the wood. So you just need to determine if you want to go horizontal or vertical with your wood. Being 24 by 24, well, the size of the fence boards are mine are about 5 1/4. So if I go with 4 of them, I'm not quite at 24 inches. So, but if I go 5 of them, then I am. So I'm going to probably fast forward a little bit into here. You'll see I had started doing this before I changed the way I'm doing the content on here. So you'll see part of that video where it's already started, and I'll incorporate some of the new steps by filming me using my squirrel saw and stuff like that, and carving out and how I'm going to build this. As you know, it's pretty much a circle, but kind of hard to do the diameter kind of like my clock, because I don't want a hole in the middle, right? The hole in the middle came out here where the piece of wood's going to be. So I'm just carving it out kind of like I did with a jigsaw, and I did the easy stuff that didn't need a smaller blade with the jigsaw, and the circle, just like with doing the clock, I went inside the line a little bit so I can sand it, and how I have an idea of how I'm going to create a sander that's kind of more circular than my normal palm sander that's not circular, right? So I get a nice curve to the drawing, because I still need the wood on both sides, right? So let's get to the portion of the video, and then we'll start cutting them out with using the scroll saw. Okay, you'll also see what I have done so far. So I've started the circle cut out. Some of the mountains are cut out here, as you can see. I still got the trees to do here, and the deer and the grass. So this one here, there's a lot going on with this piece. So I'm going to go and start jigsaw on using the squirrel saw, and the jigsaw, as I don't need to use the squirrel saw for the whole thing. And we'll start cutting the rest out. So let's go on and start cutting this stuff out. Let's get this and finish this off with a squirrel saw. Yeah, I know it looks like nothing, but this is the tree and the grass, so let's keep going. Here's part of the deer body. Now all these little pieces I'm gonna probably have to keep because they go in between the deer body, right? If you saw me pull that little piece out with one little needle nose, that's in between the legs, which is going to be a difficult piece to put on there. Now we'll keep going. I just pieced it together a little bit. I still haven't sanded the outside to the lines yet, but you can see kind of when you piece it together, kind of looks like a deer, and then the mountains there, and then the tree there on the side. So I got a kind of a smaller one there to kind of reference, right? So if you back it up, like that. So next, what I'm going to do is take this apart. I have the plywood and the frame all put together. So I'm going to paint, because I'm going to do this black stain. So I'm going to do a stain on that first, get that all stained black. That way I can start piecing these in. I'm going to have to sand it down lightly. Some of them still have some of the pencil marks on them. So I'm going to have to sand it down, smooth it up. Sand down the edges around here and then along this part of the circle. And then start piecing it in. So coming along. It's taken a little bit. I broke 4 blades. Don't know why the blades were breaking. I don't think it was too tight. But especially when you're going through it, most of it was along all these trees here, trying to curve and get all it. So still getting used to trying to figure out the whole tension thing. But it is what it is. So I'm going to go now and paint the board or the plywood the 1/4 inch plywood background, and then in the frame, and then we'll come and start piecing it together. All right, so I'll give you kind of an update. As you can see, I've kind of put the black stain on. So now I'm going to take my pieces and start sanding them down to get, to the actual lines that are there. So I got a lot of little pieces that I got to sand. Even this one's kind of like grass around the legs. So I'll have to sand those edges down best I can. So a lot of little things like that to do. So no sense me recording all the sanding part. Just going to do that. All right, well, I got most of the pieces sanded, other than now I got to go and do the edges here. Now you see how they're curved, like this one too. So I'm going to try something here. I can't use my sanders because they're flat, right? All my sanders are flat. So I'm going to try using one of my hole saws and taping sandpaper around it and put it in on my drill to see if I can use that, see how that works. I have to make sure it's sticking on there pretty good, because as soon as I start spinning it, this will just stay still, right? Well, let's go give her a shot and see how she works. All right, I'm gonna lower the camera so you can see. I'm gonna give her a shot here and see how she works. I just used duct tape. I did a reversal and then I kind of overlapped it. So I don't know how it's going to work, just because the drill might, I got it on the highest setting, but we'll just have to see how she works. And that's it. I guess that's the downside, trying to get it to stick. But for the most part, I don't know if you can see that, how much of the black line's missing. So let me get you a close up here. See, most of the black line's gone. You got a little bit here, a little bit there, and then at that end there. But you can feel a little wave there, very tiny one there, tiny one there, and then you can tell where this black line still is here. And then a little lip right there where that black line is. But it's actually not bad. It's better now than it was. And this one here, you can literally physically see that one. But it's more prominent on the back side of the wood than the front side. So, I'm satisfied with how it worked, considering I almost finished it just before the tape gave away. So I'm gonna keep going and sanding. I'm not gonna just keep playing here. It's creating a lot of dust. That's the downside. So I guess I could try to have my vacuum on underneath, but it's just blowing it everywhere because I have really nowhere for it to catch, right? So let me come back after I've done sanding the other pieces. So what I did to finish that off is I have a top piece of the circle that's part of the picture, and I just put some sandpaper there because it's the opposite of this, and it worked really well to kind of finish it off. It's very close. So this is all smooth. Tiny lump right about there. Still see there's a little bit of black marker, but other than that, it actually worked really well to finish the edge. So I just wanted to show that little tip there. Here, what I'm going to do now is found the center of the board. I don't know if you can see that little dot. Let me zoom in here. That's the center there of the board. Okay, and I was going to try to line up the center of the board with the center of that picture, but what I noticed is if you look here, this side was a lot of the circle here was a lot closer to the edge than this side, because that side has that whole tree thing. So I wanted to try to even it out, and same with front top to bottom. I had about 7/8 of an inch less on this side than say the bottom here. So what I did is I cut these all down the size, and then I'm going to fit it in, and then I'll fit the pieces, right? Because technically this is the top of his head right here, of the deer's head, and it technically was supposed to be right there in the middle. But then once I started piecing it together, and I noticed it's actually going to have to go about 7/8 of an inch down and about an inch to the left. So once I figured I'll do this border instead, and then I'll piece it in from the border, right? And then that'll look a little better than because I wanted it kind of in the middle, but I wanted it symmetrically in the middle, right? So I want these cut similar, right, all the way around the circle. So I'll kind of show you like here, for example, here. So there, that's this one here. Now I noticed this one here, I'm gonna have to curve off a little bit here. Just for some strange reason, I sanded it down. I don't know if you can see that. It kind of doesn't line up. If I get in real close, see that? But the rest of it, see, you got the circle there. And then that way I can start piecing it. So for example, this is the top here. You know, I could kind of start piecing it off there. Now I'll have to line that up with the bottom of the boards, right? Because each board has its piece. So I'm going to continue to glue the outside border, and then work my way into the middle. So well, since you sitting there watching me glue, that's all I'm doing is just gluing all these outside border pieces around until now this one here, I'm gonna kind of file it down so it lines up here. It lines up here good, so it just doesn't line up with the bottom. So let me get this glued on, and then I'll come back as I'm piecing it together. I'll give you an update now that I'm starting to glue some of this stuff on. Here, we'll do a close-up here. So once I glued the borders around, what I tried to do is for the top here, I just tried to line up the board with, I took a little extra piece of board just to line up this one with the bottom, so it's a good straight line, and then move my way down. but also trying to keep the circle with the spacing as close to even as possible. It's not perfect, but I mean, it looks pretty good. And I like the way the mountains turned out. Now I do have still the little pieces here for the antlers and stuff like that. The tree looks pretty good here. And then I got to put the legs here that are into the grass. But starting to take shape finally. So let me get this done, ready for poly, and then we'll come back. I just put the camera lower, angled lower, so I have to bend down to see my face. Now I've got everything glued, so I'll zoom in here. You can see these little pieces here. Try to line it up with the grass here across the bottom. So I'm going to let them all glue, let all the glue dry before I start moving it around and nailing it. I think I'm going to poly it too, just to hold it in place a little bit better. Then I'm going to brad nail it for extra support before I hand it off to the client. I started pouring some poly on here. I poured some in just in a little plastic cup, and then I started pouring it. Now the reason I poured it on is just because it's hard to get in some of these little small things, and I wanted to make sure, just like I was saying before, that even though it's glued on there, I'd like to get a little bit better, especially little pieces like that, right? Fill the rest in with poly here. I haven't gotten in between the mountains here enough, so I'm going to pour some in there too. And then we'll come back and finish off the video. And figures, after a long video, the last part of me finishing up the video goes corrupt. So here is the final product. The client loved it, and it actually turned out really nice, even though it was difficult to do. Looking at the lines of here, it'd probably be better to use a CNC machine than a scroll saw and a jigsaw. But as you can see in this video, it is doable by just using your scroll saw or jigsaw. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. Hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that bell to be notified when I post another video. And we'll talk to you later.